Welcome. I'm Jay Shear with Jay Shear Business Consulting. We build solid foundations for service-based businesses to grow and scale, and you've joined Business Minds Coffee Chat. One of the common threads we see in successful businesses and top performers is a focus on continuous improvement, looking for opportunities to grow and improve. If you want to grow your business, you need to grow yourself first. On this episode, we're going to explore the tools that can help you increase energy, productivity, reduce stress, and live an enhanced life. Our guest is a husband and father, a TV host, inspirational speaker, stand-up comic, author, podcaster, executive coach, certified yoga and Ayurveda teacher, and functional fitness enthusiast. He has taken the lessons learned through his own journey of self-discovery and teaches individuals, groups, and corporations how to become the best version of themselves. Please welcome Adam Kruger. Adam.
Wow, Jay. Thank you so much. I mean, it's so great to be here. We've spoken on numerous occasions, and that's very kind intro. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, I'm grateful for you. Thank you so very much for being here today. So let's jump right in. I'd love for you, if you would, to define enhanced living for us. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, on its face, it means to live better in every way, right? I mean, that's the very definition of it. But it actually came to me through the pandemic when I found myself. So basically, when everything shut down from March 13th to March 14th, I had a TV series that I was about to be hosting in pre-production. I had about, I want to say like 30 live events on the books that were, good to go. And overnight, all of it disappeared, like just gone. And I know a lot of people can relate to that where, all of a sudden they're like, okay, no more gathering, no more nothing. You're, got to stay home. And at first I was just like, okay, sure. And I started meditating when I was 18 years old. I've had a very deeply rooted spiritual practice. So I've always been good at, taking that initial shock and just kind of sloughing it off and going, okay, we're fine. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And I did that. And so we hung around and, after a couple months, I was like, I feel like I really need to do something more to help people more. There's got to be some way that I can reach people. Do I increase coaching? Maybe I'll start a podcast. And I was like, that really resonates. Like, I'm like, I really want to, that's what I'm going to do. What would I call it? What would I be talking? Enhanced living came to me immediately. And I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. And then the very next day, my wife said to me, she goes, hey, my friend Michelle is doing this podcast accelerator open house. You should check it out. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went to the thing and signed up on the spot. And within 8 weeks, my podcast was live and going. And we are now 35 episodes deep tomorrow. So I've been fortunate to interview some amazing human beings, you included, of course. And so your episode actually goes live next week, which I don't know when this is going live, but November 17th is the date of your episode, which I'm super, super stoked on because it was such a great conversation. And so I digress. I'm all over the map, but enhanced living is really all about looking at yourself and going, okay, one, who am I really? Where am I at right now? What are my strengths and what are my shortcomings? How do I make my shortcomings less and my strengths more? How do I, better yet, turn my shortcomings into strengths? So it's about becoming the best version of yourself on a daily basis, because better has no finish line, to borrow a line from Arrowhead Water, which is weird. But, the fact of the matter is you can always be a little bit better than you were yesterday.
Absolutely. Yeah. So true. So let's peel back the layers on the onion a bit and share with us who you are at the core. I mentioned at the intro, lots of different things about what you are doing and what you've done, but who are you at the core and what led you to the work that you're doing today?
Okay, well, the short answer is at the core, I am just who I am. And what led me to the work that I'm doing is purpose. But I'm assuming you want to go deeper than that, so we will.
Please.
So who am I really? I mean, I guess when I look at myself, I'm just a guy. I'm a guy who grew up in Canada, who moved to the U.S., to LA specifically to follow a dream because I just felt a calling. I'm someone who listens to that inner guidance, that inner voice. I go with my gut. My gut was like, hey, look, you need to be there. So I was like, all right, cool. I graduated university, got my degree, worked a 6-week job, accumulated money, and left. And there was no fear, there was no uncertainty. It was just, this is what I'm meant to do. And so from that point, I've always followed that inner nudge, that intuitive voice. And through meditation, I've cultivated the ability to parse that out from the fear-based thoughts and the hope-based thoughts to going, okay, no, this is literally just your intuition guiding you. Follow that voice. And so that's who I am. And actually, that sort of answers both questions because that's what led me to what I do today. It's basically, and it's funny because I really resisted the idea of teaching or of trying to help others because I constantly look at myself and go, but I'm not done yet. I've got so much more to learn. I've got so much more to be and become. Who am I to teach people things? And my wife looked at me and she goes, don't be stupid. You've been through so much. You've gone through so many different things. You've worked on yourself so much. You can help so many people. Don't be selfish. And so I really resisted the idea because I didn't want it to come from an ego place where it's like I'm better than anyone, because I don't believe that I am. I don't believe anyone's better than anybody. I really truly believe that at our core we're all equal. We all have certain things that we excel at, but nobody excels at everything. So I suppose that's the long and short of it. Purpose led me to where I am, and who I am is just someone who I just wanna see fairness. I just want to see good in the world. I want to see people treat each other with respect and kindness.
So let's go back for a moment to the limiting beliefs that you experience. So you mentioned that your wife, you had a conversation with her and she made a comment to you and gave you a bit more perspective, and that allowed you to realize that, look, I may not be finished with this journey, but I do have a lot to share. And those self-limiting beliefs stop so many of us from bringing our gifts to the world and using our voice for good and being able to accomplish many things that we want to be able to do, but we have that fear. So was there more work involved in that conversation? And if so, can you walk us through that process a bit?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's work on it every day. I mean, I'm confident in who I am. I know what I stand for. I know what I believe in. There's certain things that can't be bought. In other words, you can't. I'll give the perfect example, okay? And this may bother certain people, and it may not. And to be honest, I don't care. Not in the way that I don't care about other people. I'm just saying I don't care if it bothers you because this is where I stand. I had an appointment come in, or an audition come in for a project that was going to be for a tobacco company, and I'm not pro tobacco. Sorry, like I'm just not. I mean, it's been proven that it causes cancer and all that stuff, so I turned it down. The point is that it could have been worth a lot of money. I was right for it, but I didn't audition because I stand by my values, right? So understanding that certain things are not for sale, and understanding that, you have to stand for something or you'll fall for everything, So when it comes down to that, I look at it and I go, okay, I understand what my values are. I know where things are going, but on a daily basis, of course, there's the doubt that creeps in where you go, but really, should I be like, why am I better to give information to other people than someone else that's already doing the same stuff? Like, because when you look at spiritual teachings, when you look at self-improvement, self-mastery, and all that, I don't want to say all that stuff, but that genre of work that people do for themselves, there are so many people teaching basically the same thing. You know, Tony Robbins is one of them, and I don't know why that one keeps coming. Well, he's I guess he's at the top of that field, right? But so he's one, but then you have so many others. I mean, Wayne Dyer taught it, and obviously he's no longer with us in physical form. But you know, there's so many people who've taught it, and it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. Like David Meltzer, I don't know if you know who he is. He's on Instagram, big time, you know, motivational guy. Amazing advice. What differentiates him from Tony Robbins? They're saying virtually the same stuff. You know, at the core, it's all the same. But the difference is the lens through which the message comes from. So when you look at it from that perspective, there are some people who will only listen to Jay. They will only listen to you because the way that you say it, the way that you're delivering the message, the package, if you will, is a package that they'll look at and go, yes, I can receive that package. I can receive that gift and then take that information and make it part of me. Much the same way that there are people who only will listen to Tony Robbins, but then there are people who will not, right? Because it depends. The messenger, it's the lens that it comes through. And so I realize I'm off on a major tangent here, but I'm gonna steer the ship back. I promise. So the issues that I've come up with over time is, you know, again, I come back to my wife telling me, hey, listen, you know, you have experience, you have a certain perspective. People will listen to what you have to say because they need to hear it from you. Just because someone else is doing it, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It just means you're going to do it and you're going to have the following that you need. Or the more accurately, you're going to be what that following needs as opposed to someone else. If that's clear. So
it is. That makes a lot of sense. And I want to also tie this back to another important point that you made around core values. So you mentioned the example of the tobacco company. The core values are critical not only in our personal lives but in our business lives as well. That sets the tone and gives us the direction that we will navigate, right? What we'll say yes to, what we'll say no to. And from a business perspective, once we've been able to identify and hone in on those core values that truly are important to us, we measure everything against those core values, from who we hire, who our strategic partners are going to be, how we motivate, how we fire, all of those variables. And it applies clearly in our lives as well.
Yeah, and it's very true. I mean, those core values, I know of, and I will never name names when I talk about things like this, but I know of companies that, you know, they state their core values in one breath, and then in the next they're completely negating them because a financial opportunity came their way. And you know what? Good for them if that's how they want to behave. But to me, it doesn't show integrity. It shows a lack of integrity. So, for example, I was running up until the pandemic hit, and you know, the business isn't dead necessarily, but again, it's dormant at the moment. I was running a very successful events company, you know, handling all sorts of events from corporate events to bar and bat mitzvahs and weddings, and you know, all sorts of things from DJ and entertainment services to speaking services to all sorts of wonderful, amazing, fun events that I would do. And I've done in my life at this point personally, I've done over like 2,000 events myself, just me.
Nice.
So yeah, so I mean, it's been an amazing thing, and the experience that I've had from it is so wonderful. Now, take that aside for half a second, and applying that to core values. There have been certain people who have wanted to work with me or for me, where I would talk to them and I would find out, hey, you know what, you're a bit of a bigot. Sorry, can't. And I would never say that to their face, but it would just. If they're racist or ignorant, and ignorant and racism are two different things, because ignorant means you're unaware. You know, when you're biased, when you're looking at something and going, that's bad because of some superficial nonsense, that's something I can't get behind unless it's someone who goes, whoa, I was blind, but now I see. You know what I mean? I believe that everyone deserves a second chance. But if they're so entrenched in the belief of, I'm better than they are, whoever they is, it could be I'm a man and I'm better than women, or it could be it doesn't matter what it is. If you're coming at it from that perspective, I'm sorry, like I don't wish you ill. I just can't work with you. Do you know what I mean? So it's really what it comes down to is I've turned down events because I've had clients call me up asking me to do a specific event. Actually, even through the pandemic, I've had people call up and be like, yeah, this is all nonsense. It doesn't really matter. We're doing a huge event. We want you to come. Nope, sorry. I'm not going to come put myself at risk and be part of what you're doing when I know, look, my great aunt passed away from it. My grandmother had it, somehow survived. I have friends in their 30s and 40s fighting in the ICU with this thing. It is legitimate. It's not like a hoax like so many people think. And so having that information, knowing what I know, I'm not going to compromise my morals, my values, and most of all, my safety to go do something because you're bored and want to have a party. You know, so I mean, again, I know that's an extreme example, but at the end of the day, if you don't stand up for your core values and you don't designate yourself for what you do believe in, what do you stand for at that point? Where do you stand?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you've shared some important lessons there, and it also helps to amplify the need to clarify who our ideal clients are as well. So not only do we have the core values, but also who do we want to work with? What type of individual, what type of business, and get some clarity around that so we're not out there trying to attract everyone, because we know that not everyone's going to want to hear our message, right? You're going to have your ideal clients, but understand who they are so
Exactly.
you can make sure that you're in proximity of them.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you can't serve more people than what your core client group is. It's, what are you willing to put up with? What are you willing to go, okay, well, this isn't such a huge deal, so, this will be okay. The person may be a little bit rough around the edges, but they're a good person at heart, or the company might be a little bit rough around the edges, but they stand for good things, and they're not dumping oil into the oceans like, on their own and setting the world on fire. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's just like, okay, well, whatever, like they use GMOs or whatever, like, okay, cool. So you're using genetically modified organisms. Are you, but we're going carbon neutral. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'll weigh one, against the other and kind of go from, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not like not everything is cut and dry, black and white, left and right. It's there is that center area that people can live in. But when it comes to existential things, you have to really be able to, set those boundaries because you have to. How would you
Absolutely. not? That's exactly right. So you brought up meditation and mentioned that you've been meditating since the age of 18. Mm-hmm. So talk about meditation for a moment, because that's a very powerful practice, and I know that you spend a significant amount of time meditating and also teaching others about meditation. But talk about that from the perspective of being able to recognize our thoughts and also kind of tie it back to those self-limiting beliefs for a moment, and how you can use meditation to help overcome that.
Okay, yeah, that's a really great question and a really wonderful topic, and I love discussing this. We have over 60,000 thoughts a day. That's fact. We are not aware of all of them. And believe it or not all of them belong to you, and not all of them should even be taken seriously. So with that being said, we attach to a bunch of different thoughts. We don't realize this until we become aware of it, because you don't realize anything really until you become aware of it. But a thought will come into your mind, and when you attach to that thought, it instantly spurs another thought. So let's give an example. Thought comes in, I'm not good enough. Let's just say that, because that's the thought, this is part of the thread. I'm not good enough. Well, then the why comes in. I'm not good enough because I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough experience because I haven't worked all these things. I'm not going to succeed in this business because I'm not good enough and I don't have enough experience. And so the thought just balloons out. That's the easiest way to explain the law of attraction, right? From like the minuscule area that we're going to start with, which is the mind, which is also the most amazing thing that we have. It is our tool to create everything that we create. So understanding that that first thought of I'm not good enough, first of all, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Do you have to believe that thought? Well, no, you don't. Because the fact of the matter is that inherently you are good enough. If you are in the position of doing something, or you have the ability to do something, you are good enough. You are. As you are good enough, period. So now, how does meditation tie into this? Well, it's very simple. A lot of people think that you just sit there, doing a mudra, which, I mean, most people don't. Mudra is there's many of them, but people think you sit there with, your hands, palms facing up on your thighs, close your eyes, and just, sit there. That's not meditation. Meditation it's a transcendent thing. It's about concentration. It's about focusing yourself and focusing your mind to the point where you are not thinking. It's about observing the thoughts. It's about seeing them come in and going, okay, I see that thought coming in. I'm not attaching to it. I'm not going to think that thought. And then letting it go. And it's about training your mind to be aware of the thinking mind. So when I say training the mind, you're not really training your mind, you're training yourself to become the observer of the thoughts. I hope this is making sense.
Yes.
If you've never meditated before, what it does is it helps you recognize the fact that you are not your mind. You are not the thinking self. The mind makes a terrible master, but a wonderful servant. You can use your mind to create so many amazing things on this world. You can use your mind to solve so many problems. But when you let your mind run you get lost in the, I'm not good enough. Why am I not good enough? Because I don't have the experience. But I don't have the experience because I haven't done the event. I haven't done the event because I'm not good enough. And it's this round and round circle of self-defeating thinking that mostly cripples people. So when you meditate, you start to become aware of your thoughts. You start to become able to not attach to them and not take them personally. You start to become able to create your own thoughts and go, when that thought of I'm not good enough comes in, you're able to look at it, see it in real time and go, that's ridiculous. Of course I'm good enough. Instead of attaching to the thought and then letting it grow from there, you then change the thought and have a different thought and let that grow from there. Of course I'm good enough because I do have the experience, because I've done whatever little thing it is. Why wouldn't they listen? Why not me? And it helps you shift your perspective from that negative, self-defeating, negative mental attitude to the positive, self-reinforcing, positive mental attitude. So I was actually able to overcome an autoimmune disease that I had been diagnosed with at 17. I haven't taken a pill for it since I was 20. I'm 40. I'm 40. We'll be 41.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'll be 41 in January. So it is coming up. So, but the point is, it's been over 20 years since I've taken an actual pill, like a specific medication for the condition. Have I had bumps along the road? Of course. It's exacerbated by stress. You think there's not been stress in this country over the last 5-10 years? There's been a lot of stress. So how do I mitigate the stress? Simple, meditation. It's literally, and I'm not going to say that it's a Band-Aid fix-all situation, just meditate and everything goes away. No, actually, the more inner work you do and the more meditation you do, the more you're going to dredge up from your past, the more issues you're going to start to have to face to kind of correct your behavior and correct yourself as a human being. And so that road is difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. However, I will say this, if you commit yourself to it, it is so rewarding because you come out of it on the other end as a human being who can have empathy for others. You can see things from different perspectives. You can see yourself as you really are, and you're able to overcome certain issues. So a perfect example of this, and I will relate it to business, because as someone running a company where I'm doing events, I'm dealing with people constantly. And when I used to deal with someone who would write stuff and be demanding and be rude, I would be rude back a long time ago because they would get the better of me, and I would yell, or I would whatever. I would never yell at a client, obviously, but I would be like, well, in my head going, they should know this, right? They should know you're not allowed to act. And all of us, we all have that issue of well, they should know. I'm like, why should they know? Why are you assuming that someone has the capacity to understand things the same way that you do? Come from the perspective of, hey, look, that person's 7 years old and you have to explain it to them in a kind way so that they don't cry and run to mommy. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean that in a way where if you look at everyone as someone who is an ally, as a friend, as someone who you can explain something to and be kind to instead, you can, look, I know that there's so many ways to say this, but well, the way to say it is there's 100 ways to skin a cat is what they say, which is a weird saying. It's a weird expression. Nobody wants to skin a cat. And if you do, seek help. But, at the end of the day, there's so many, you can say so many different things or say one thing so many different ways. So if the person's writing you about a service or a good or whatever it is, you have a million different ways that you can respond. The only way you should respond is with kindness, because with kindness you get more clients. With kindness you keep the clients that you have. Without it, you lose everything. So kindness isn't just about being a good person to other people. It's about being a good business person. And again, coming back to meditation, it helps put that space between the event that's happening in front of you and your thought process back here. So excuse me, I'm choking. So when you're able to put that space there, you have that extra moment of time to go, okay, how about we do this instead of reacting and yelling at the person?
Yeah.
So that's a long-winded way of why I think that meditation is so beneficial and can help people in so many different ways.
Yeah, it's remarkable that you have been able to use that as a way to dramatically reduce stress and be able to eliminate medications for an autoimmune issue that you were dealing with. I mean, that's incredible. And there's plenty of other stories of those who have used meditation effectively to just radically improve their lives and improve their ability to think more clearly. But one of the things two things that came up in my mind as you were talking about meditation for you, one of them is a saying. I've got a little piece of paper that I carry around with me all the time, and it says, "Let me see this differently." And it's just one of those reminders that no matter what the situation is, I try to pause for a moment and look at the situation differently to make sure that am I looking at it correctly? Do I have the facts? Is this the truth? So that's one piece. And then the other is it reminds me of Viktor Frankl's quote that the space between stimulus and response is where our power lies. And I may be butchering that quote a bit, but basically, again, the stimulus, right, being a comment that's made to us or something that we see on social media or a conversation we're having with someone, that space between the actual stimulus and the way that we respond, I mean, that's powerful, right? That's taking that pause. That's using that moment and deciding how we're going to respond to it. And that's where the growth happens.
It's so true. I mean, and that's exactly, I feel like what meditation does is it expands that space between stimulus and response. So whereas if you don't meditate and you just kind of go about like a piece of driftwood on the ocean, it's how I like to describe it, where you're just being bounced around by whatever comes at you from the external world, because whatever comes at you externally is going to happen no matter what. It's not like, like just so that everyone understands, it's not like you start meditating and then after a couple months of meditating, all of a sudden life is roses and puppies and rainbows. That's not the way it goes. What happens is the things that are happening outside of you no longer affect your inner peace. You don't get pulled apart by every little thing that happens. You don't get triggered by every single thing. And so what that means is that space between stimulus and response becomes larger. And as that space becomes larger, you're able to in real time go, but I mean, does this really matter? Like, it's about looking at it differently. Like you said, let me see this differently. You're able to kind of look at it. And when someone says something hurtful, you're able to stop in the middle of this situation. It's like time dilates almost, right? Where you're able to go, oh, wow, yeah, they must be really hurting from this perspective, as opposed to yelling back at the person or as opposed to having a reaction. You're now able to kind of go, let me come back at this with a little bit of empathy. Let me come back at this with some caring. And so that's really what it is, that space between stimulus and response and how powerful it is. Meditation increases that power.
Yeah, it truly is amazing. I will share this just based on my own experience that there really is no perfect way to meditate. And it's called a meditation practice for a reason. It is something that we practice daily, but we're not chasing some idea of perfection. And so when I see, I mean, because there's so many different apps that are available for meditating, there's a plethora of courses that are out there. And what I always try to encourage people to do, if they're interested and if they're asking me questions about meditation or my meditation practice, I just try to make it very simple. Start with a few minutes. You know, if you can do 5 minutes to start with, 5 to 10 minutes, and really just focus on your breathing. And realize that the thoughts are going to continue to come, but it's the recognizing that you brought up. That's the important part. So once you are able to recognize the thoughts, then you can let those thoughts go and continue to focus on the breathing. So, I only bring that up because I for someone that may have an interest in it, I wouldn't want them to get discouraged because they may have this picture in their mind, not based on what you described, but a picture in their mind of, you know, having to sit there for hours at a time, and that they're going to be able to completely clear their mind of any thoughts. Just practice, right? Try it daily.
Yeah, no, 100%. I always tell people, look, you know, I can teach you what I know, and I can teach you what I've, you know, I don't want to say cobbled together because that sounds so, you know, just like, oh, let me throw in this and throw in that and this works and that doesn't. I've been someone who's always, I'll dive headfirst into a new methodology and then really just absorb all of it and then go, okay, this resonates, that doesn't, holding on to what resonates, letting go of the rest. And so what I do and how I practice my meditation is an amalgamation of everything that I've learned, accumulated, read, experienced over the last 20, 22, 23, 24 years of spiritual seeking. So when I can teach you what I do, absolutely. However, it may not resonate with you. And if it doesn't, that's cool. You got to find something that does. I mean, as someone who is an experienced meditator, there are periods of time where every day I'll sit down to meditate, and it's because I'm forcing myself to sit down and meditate. It's not because I'm choosing to. It's because I'm going, okay, I know I have to. I don't feel like it right now. I've got all these different things. I don't feel like this. I really don't feel like sitting here right now, but I do it anyway. And it takes me just a little bit longer to quiet my mind, but I stay with it because eventually you do quiet your mind. And even if you get there for 20 seconds of that thoughtless, present beingness state, it does so much good for you that even if you're sitting there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but you only get that 1 minute or 20 seconds of absolute peaceful now, you're still receiving benefit from it. So and you'll see that when you get to that point, what happens is your mind instantly goes, no, but you have to think about this, and a thought will come in, and you'll be like, damn it, I lost it. But you don't have to attach to that thought either. You can just let it go, and then you'll be right back in it, and that takes practice. And that's why when you do achieve it, when you do get to that space where you are no longer thinking about your breathing, you're no longer thinking about anything, you are just sitting there and nothing is happening. And at the same time, everything is happening because your body's doing what it needs to do. You enjoy that state so much because it's our natural state that you end up sitting there for so much longer than you ever intended to, and you'll come out of it and go, oh my God, I've been sitting here for a half an hour. How did that happen? Again, that comes with practice. And again, like you said, and like I always tell people, it is a practice. You're not, nobody has a meditation expert. You know, they're meditation practitioners. You're a yoga practitioner because there is no such thing as being a perfected being, because once you become perfected, you leave the body and you're done. The whole point here is to learn, to evolve. It's not about to be perfected. If you're perfected, why are you here? What are you doing here? You know, we live in a world of duality where there's good and bad, up and down, light and dark. You know, without one, you don't have the other. Mm-hmm. When you leave and you're in spirit, right? And again, if you don't believe in this, that's fine. But from my perspective, at least, when you leave and you're in spirit, there is no other. It's just love is the only thing that exists, and oneness. And that's it, because that's what in my mind and what I believe and in my experience, that's what God, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, universal energy, that's what that is. We're just little individuated points of consciousness along the way, having a good time on this rock that's hurtling around the sun at 100,000 kilometers an hour or whatever the speed is. I don't know.
Beautifully said. So let's talk for a moment about the work that you do with individuals, groups, and corporate clients. So when we talk about improving productivity as an example, can you walk me through some of the steps that you may take with a company that's engaged with you? What does that look like? Is that a meditation practice? Is it yoga? Is it all of the above?
So yeah, kind of. I mean, so I don't actively teach yoga. And let me backtrack for a second, because yoga, people assume is all about the asana, which are the postures, down dog, up dog, and warrior 1 and 2, and just saying the ones that people would know, because there's hundreds of poses. People associate yoga with the postures, and yoga really means union. It's a way to communicate or to merge with supreme consciousness. And so the only real posture in yoga is lotus position, where you sit for meditation, and all the other postures are there to prepare you to sit in meditation. That's really the true core of yoga. The original 8 limbs of yoga have to do with mantra, meditation, postures, of course, focus, concentration, meditation, samadhi. Samadhi is absorption in eternal bliss. Okay, so. And I realized that I just gave you a 22-second crash course in yoga, which, again, I did 200 hours of it. So, and I still don't have a full grasp, because I don't think you ever possibly could. But so when it comes to working with productivity in businesses, part of it is understanding that I want to unlock people's potential, because most people do not operate at their potential. They operate below it, because they have self-limiting beliefs. So part of it is talking to people about how they can remove those self-limiting beliefs, how they can, I would hold a workshop with people, and really and again, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you participate and say, well, sometimes I feel like I'm frustrated dealing with supplier X because they won't listen. I keep asking them to give me the order with enough lead time so that I can get it done, but then they're always a day or two late, and then they expect more than they're, whatever the problem is. It's about understanding that, okay, look, so supplier X has whatever they've got going on. You are allowing that to affect you. How do we deal with that? Because the only thing, you said this at the beginning, this is something that I'm a firm believer in, or maybe you said this when we were talking before we started recording, but the only thing you truly have control over is yourself and your reactions to your environment. There's nothing else that you can control. You can control you. That's it. So part of what I do is I help people realize that, and I help people get a handle on how to control themselves. Now that's through meditation. So I'll teach meditation, I'll lead meditations, I'll do guided meditations, which are super, super powerful. But the idea is that I don't want you to become hooked on the guided meditations. It's not about listening to my voice. It's not about me taking you on this imaginary journey through your meditation, which, by the way, it's powerful and it's amazing. And that's not about me. That's about just, it's powerful and amazing to have that experience, whether it's through me leading it or anyone else. If they're doing it with the right intentions and they have the right know-how, it's very, very powerful. Visualizing is so powerful because your body doesn't know that it's not really happening. Your mind sees it, it's real. That's it. Your body has no idea. They've shown this physiologically, that there are responses in the body that correlate to thoughts that you're having. The easiest way to explain that, just think about as guys, how we become aroused, by a thought. Nothing's happening, but we have a thought, and the body goes, yep, ready to go. Let's do this. So, and I don't mean to be crude. I'm just saying that physiologically, the body has no idea that the mind is projecting something that's not actually happening. And I'm using air quotes in real life. So to continue on with that, I like to bring meditation to people, but I like to give them the experience of doing the guided meditation, having the crystal bowl that I play, or whatever it is, so that they can really bypass those defense mechanisms that they use to kind of go like, well, this is all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, it doesn't work, and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, just let me guide you right now. Then they experience what they've just like what I've just led them through, and it's about teaching them to do it for themselves. I don't ever want to be the person, like I'm not trying to be the guy that has to lead you, you know? I don't want that. I want you to lead yourself. But I want to give you the tools to do that. So how does that affect productivity in a company? Well, on its face, you're going, well, okay, great. So they know how to meditate. What does that do for my company? Well, it does a lot for your company, because if you have a bunch of people meditating and making themselves better, better human beings, better equipped to deal with whatever's going on around them, well, they're going to treat your clients better. They're going to treat their work differently. They're going to be more conscientious with their work. They're going to want to do it better just because it's worth doing right, as opposed to cutting corners and going, I don't care about this. I want to go watch TV. I want to get out of the office early. It's about, no, let me get this done, and then I'll go, because I won't have to go back on it. Let me get this done because I'm not going to get stuck in my head and start, scrolling on Facebook or whatever while I'm at work. It's about really becoming accountable for who you are, and becoming accountable for who you are. Some people think that, okay, great, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to manifest this amazing life of, luxury and riches. And I'm going to have like that $1 trillion idea. And I'm just like, look, dude, that's great, but that's not the point. It's not the point. The point is you can be a rock star at whatever job you're doing, because the job isn't your identity. It's about realizing what your actual identity is, and then bringing that to whatever it is that you're doing. That's how you excel. That's success. When you literally go home and be like, wow, I was the best version of myself today, and I think I can be even better tomorrow. So, and that increases productivity naturally, because if you think about it, when you're trying to be the best version of yourself, how could you do subpar work?
True. Very true. Yeah, that's really incredible. It reminds me, when I was in the corporate world, right before I left, I was traveling back and forth for about 4 to 5 months to my corporate office, which was in the Denver area. And they were starting to offer mindfulness, meditation, and yoga classes in the morning for employees. And this is a very, very large company. And clearly they understood the power of wellness, mindfulness, right? Happy, healthy employees equal productive employees who love what they do, and it comes out, right? Customers know it, they can sense it, they feel that energy. So it's no longer a situation where it happens in back rooms or it's something that's woo-woo. It's real, and it works, and it's effective. And clearly you see that in your own business and the work that you do with not only corporate clients, but also at the individual level.
100%. And before I talk about diet, because that's a huge part of it, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that as well, because you got to treat the people holistically. It's not, it has to be a holistic approach. You can't just go, okay, well, great, I'm going to meditate, and then I'm going to go eat junk food all day long. Well, first of all, your meditation is going to just be awful if you're putting bad fuel into your body. But secondly, they say you are what you eat. Well, when you think of it from the perspective that everything is energy, which it is. It's science. This isn't woo woo. It's straight up science. And I love saying woo woo because it sounds funny. But the fact of the matter is that, they've already discovered from on the quantum level that the photon, right, can be a particle or a wave, or the particle can be a wave or a particle, and it depends on who's observing it. So that's what's happening inherently, right at the quantum level in our bodies. Like the electrons don't orbit around the atom, like a nucleus where you see like a little mini solar system. No, they're actually popping in and out of existence around the nucleus of the atom. That's what the electrons are doing. So sometimes they're particles, sometimes it's wave energy, and it's a light. So. And I realize if that goes over people's heads because it's scientific, that's fine. I don't even fully grasp it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. The fact is that it's either energy or matter, and they're interchangeable. What that means is your thoughts literally affect your reality. We can only perceive less than 1% of the spectrum of light. Less than 1% is what we perceive. So again, we had talked about this before we even started the episode. When you remember something, you're not remembering the actual event. You're remembering your first memory of it, which isn't even real because you don't even know what you perceived to begin with. You just, your brain, translates whatever's coming into your eyes and it creates a picture for you, but we don't know what's real. We have no idea. So I'm totally off track right now. But talking about, so diet, right.
Diet, right.
So if it's all energy, right. And energy has different characteristics. If it vibrates faster, it's a higher energy or a higher resonance. And if it vibrates lower, it's a lower resonance. What do you want to be consuming? What do you want to be putting into your body? Do you want to resonate higher or lower? You want to be at a higher frequency. You want to raise your energy. That's what it means when people say like, man, you got to raise your energy. It's not mumbo jumbo. It's about really just choosing that higher vibration. Love is a higher vibration than hate, period. And by the way, love and hate are not opposites. It's love and fear. So everything stems from those two emotions, fear and love. What are you going to choose? Anything that's negative is fear-based. You can trace it back to some fear of something. Love is all the positive side. Vibrates higher. It attracts more things that are, all of it attracts what's like it, right? So when you look at your diet and you're eating garbage all day, you're vibrating at a lower frequency. You're not going to be able to achieve the higher frequency of meditation when you sit there. But if you put proper food and you actually nourish your engine, you nourish your body with higher vibing things, you're going to be able to achieve that. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there because it's not just, okay, meditation is a Band-Aid, it'll fix everything. No, you got to meditate, but you also have to exercise. You also have to eat right because that's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you vibrate higher. And I don't remember now what the other part of what I wanted to address was, but
well, it may come to you, but I appreciate you sharing that.
That's the tangent I went on. Yeah.
No, but that's okay. And to your point, though, that it's a holistic approach, that is so true. And I want to talk about the energy level for just a moment because you had brought up Tony Robbins earlier in the conversation. And Tony Robbins isn't the only one that does this, but he is absolutely an expert at it. If you think about it, if you've either been to a Tony Robbins event or if you've seen a Tony Robbins event online, what happens? Loud music, lots of lights, right? The whole idea here isn't to get people just to listen to great music that gets them moving. It is to create a level of energy that raises the roof because Tony realizes, and many others also realize, that when we can change the state that someone's in like that's incredibly powerful because now once that state change takes place and the energy level is at its peak, now they're more receptive to learning, to receiving information, and that's where transformative change comes into place. So it all ties right back to energy, but you're so right, and you know much more about this than I do, but understanding the balance there, eating well, getting enough sleep, meditating, the self-talk, all of those things play a role in being able to take ourselves from where we are today, optimize performance, and achieve the remarkable results that we want from our life.
100%. And when you look at it from that perspective too, this is where I wanted to go as well before, because I knew there was relevance. It's about visualizing, right? When you visualize, when you see the success, right? The success is going to come. A lot of people think that's, that how do you see it first and then achieve it? I'll believe it when I see it. That's most people's response is I'll believe it when I see it. Well, dude, you're never going to see it if that's the case. You have to believe it before you see it. You have to see it and believe it, and then you will achieve it. And I'm pretty sure that I heard that somewhere. I didn't just come up with that on the spot because I'll never take credit for something that isn't mine. But at the end of the day, when you meditate, you're practicing that visualization. When you're doing a guided meditation, you're exercising that muscle. It's the same way when you go to the gym, you don't just like do 4 curls and then have massive biceps. Like that's just not the way it works. You have to do that every single day or 3 days a week for forever, essentially, to kind of build yourself up. It's the same thing. When you meditate, you have to practice. You have to build those muscles so that you can actually achieve the ease of just going, great, I can visualize it. I can see myself on stage. I see myself in front of all those people. I can see them taking in my message. I can see them going, yes, whatever it is. Or I can see the person picking up the phone and going, yep, I would like 1,200 units of that tomorrow, please. That's great. Or whatever it is, whatever that success means for you. It could mean something as simple as I'm going to run into my future wife or husband or partner or whatever in 3 days from now. I mean, try not to put a time limit on it because the universe works in very mysterious and interesting ways. And I have a million stories about that. But, at the end of the day, you just have to see the end result and let go of the how or the why or whatever. Know that you're worthy, see the success, and then allow it to come in. Don't try to control everything.
Yeah, that's so true. And also with the visualization piece of it, it's taking the right actions, and those actions will present themselves once you've been able to visualize and you have clarity on what it is that you're after. And kind of going back to your saying, I'll believe it when I see it, right? Or flipping that on its head, and I'll see it when I believe it. Mm-hmm. So Wayne Dyer wrote, you brought up Wayne Dyer earlier. So one of Wayne Dyer's popular books was attached to that title. And I remember it was just one of those books that radically changed the way that I think. And I stumbled across that book, and it was definitely an eye opener because it turned the whole theory on its head. And I didn't attach as much power to the visualization side as I do now, and now it's made a world of difference.
It really does. I mean, if you're able to visualize it, you can then see yourself there. And remember, we already talked about this. Your body doesn't know that it's not real. Your body has no idea. And so when you understand that everything is energy and everything is actually able to be manipulated, with respect to that, like your thoughts change things. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That is a Wayne Dyer quote.
Yes.
And it is so true, and it is so powerful. There's always more than one way to look at things, and that goes back to what you said. Look at things differently. How do I see this differently? There's so many. You can come at it from the positive side and go, hey, you know what? They didn't mean this, or I know I can do this, versus I know I can't. They meant to hurt me, so on and so forth. Do you see the difference in the way that even the way I speak it?
Oh, yeah.
One side is like, okay, yeah, this is cool. The other side is like, well, da-da-da. Which way do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Most people choose to be on the wrong side of things. Most people choose to be miserable. They like being miserable, so they perpetuate it. As opposed to just choosing happiness. You can choose it. It's a choice.
Well, it goes back to those thoughts that you mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation. 60,000 thoughts that we have. The majority of those are not positive thoughts. But once we're able to begin to recognize that, and we can change the storyline through not only visualization, but the words that we use, our life changes because of it.
Yeah.
Our outcomes change because of it.
Exactly.
So speaking of books for a moment, what are 1 to 2 books that have significantly affected your outlook on life?
Oh, God. 1 to 2. There's so many.
I'm sure.
I'll fire off just, if you don't mind, I'm going to fire off just a few, just because these have been instrumental in my life. One is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill. That book changed my life over the course of a year. Like, boom, I read that book and then read it again and then read it again. Becoming Supernatural, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And then the one other one that I wanted to mention was, no, not that one. I'm looking at my shelf right here. I'm like, no, not that one. The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot is it's bananas. It came out, I think, in like 93 or 98 or something like that. I can't remember exactly when it came out, but it's about basically the theory that we live in a hologram, and it explains. There's like a physicist and a it sounds like I'm about to tell a joke. A physicist and a nuclear,
walk into a bar.
Yeah. But they're two renowned scientists that actually, through looking at things, attempt to explain spirituality through a scientific lens. And basically the holographic principle fits perfectly into it. I mean, most of the major really, really intelligent people, far more intelligent than I am, believe that we're likely living in a simulation, which, I mean, that has implications far beyond anything that I'm, capable of discussing at the moment. But, at the end of the day, the holographic universe it's in my top 3 of all time amazingly favorite books. So I spent more time on that one than I meant to, but
that's okay. Thank you for sharing that list. I appreciate that. I would hope that that's going to resonate with someone, right? They'll listen to your words, and one of those books that perhaps they haven't heard of or that is of interest to them, they'll go out, buy, consume the information, and it'll change their life.
Hope so. These are amazing authors.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, Adam, what areas do you want to move into next that push you to grow and reach your greatest potential?
Wow, that's a big question. What areas do I want to move into? Honestly, I don't want to say more of the same, because that's kind of a cop out. I've been delving into, through the pandemic, I've really deepened my spiritual practice. And again, that comes in ebbs and flows. I mean, there was a point where I was meditating upwards of 2 hours a day, and, then it cuts down to 45 minutes, and I never lose the practice. It's just sometimes, things go in flows, and you have to kind of, you have to allow that to happen. You have to allow yourself to follow, I don't want to say follow your like basest instincts. That's not it. It's just sometimes you have to follow your heart instead of like, there's the heart brain and then there's the head brain, right? Head brain goes, I know I need to sit down and meditate, but your heart brain goes, you know what? Now I really just want to snuggle on the couch with my wife. Like, that's what I need right now. So I hope I'm making that clear. So as far as where do I want to go to push myself into the next level? I mean, there's a few things that are going on in our life right now that are positive and really wonderful, that I'm just not able to share at the moment. Mm-hmm. But the expansion is essentially about continuing to do more internal work, because that's never done. It's never over. I think people think that, once you become a meditator or once you start to follow a spiritual path, everything just sort of falls into place, and certain things do, of course, but the work is never done. It's like trying to drain the ocean with an eyedropper. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to keep taking water out, but there's a vast amount to deal with. So there's always something more to realize, understand, achieve. Something that I thought in my 20s or 30s that I would never again think after passing into my 40s, which is, you think you're going to get to a certain point. You think you're just going to achieve success or growth or whatever it is. And it's an ongoing process. Like, you're going to be learning until the day you die, if you choose to. The day you stop learning is the day that you either become ignorant or the day that you leave the body. At the end of the day, you have to always be willing to learn. And for me, it's about doing that. It's about continuously learning. It's about continuously trying to be a better human than I was yesterday. And so there are days where I fail, where I look at my day and I go, yeah, you know what? I didn't quite measure up today. Today was not a good day for me. However, there were these good things that I did. So nothing is ever a total loss. If you can always take the lesson, nothing's a loss. So as far as pushing into the next chapter or next phase is to, increase, bounce back. And when I'm saying that, I'm talking about business. I have a couple of ideas that are bouncing around in my head right now of something that I want to launch. Okay. Because I've been an entrepreneur since as long as I can remember. And so there's something that I've been passionate about for a little while now. And I'm kind of contemplating whether I want to launch this thing in addition to everything that I'm doing. And that's always been one of my concerns is, hey, whoa, stop doing everything. Focus on one thing. As you said in the beginning, MC, DJ, speaker, yoga teacher, there's a lot of podcaster, there's a lot of different things that I'm doing. I want to grow the podcast. I want to continue to, bring that to as many people as possible. But really at my core, I just want to become the best version of myself on a daily basis. So, I mean, I know that may not be the answer that people are looking to hear, but it's the answer that is true.
And it's your answer. And that's what counts.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, beautiful. So, what message would you like to leave all of us with?
What message? Okay, it's twofold. One, you can always be better. You can always be better. But what goes right along with that is don't be so hard on yourself. We tend to be harder on ourselves than we are on our best friends, our family members, and so on and so forth. When someone comes up to us with a failure, the first thing you say to them is not, "Yep, you sucked. You screwed up. You suck. You shouldn't do." No, we look at them and go, "Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You did your best. You'll get it next time. Keep working. You'll get there." But for some reason, when we fail and our family members and our friends are treating us that way, we look at ourselves and we go, "I suck. I shouldn't have done this. Like, yeah." And we just get this huge negative deluge of thoughts and feelings. And don't be so hard on yourself. Treat yourself the way that you would treat a loved one when they're having issues. So yes, you can always be better. Continually work on doing that. But treat yourself with kindness and allow yourself the ability to make mistakes and evolve from there.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
So before I ask you the final question, where can we connect with you?
Okay. Well, very simply put, you can find, obviously, my podcast is Enhanced Living with Adam Kruger. My website is theadamkruger.com, which not THEE, just THE. So theadamkruger.com, I suppose. Okay. Obviously Facebook, Instagram, all my handles are essentially the same. It's the Adam Kruger. And, I do have an event company as well. It's In the House Entertainment, which you'll be able to find by going to my website. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Wonderful. Well, we will link to each of those in the show notes. So here is my final question to you.
Yes.
We know that asking better questions at the right time can dramatically change our lives. So what are 1 to 2 questions that you're asking yourself in order to take your life and business to even greater heights?
1 to 2 questions that I ask myself to take my life and my business to greater heights. Okay. Am I doing enough is one. And can I be better? Can I do better? So one, am I doing enough? But also, can I do better? So doing enough is quantity. Being better is about quality. So those are the 2 questions that I choose to ask myself on a daily basis. Was it enough today? And can I be better? And if the answer to have I done enough is no, well, what do I do to make it enough? And if the answer is can I be better, if it's yes, then, well, what do I do to be better? And then you answer those questions and then you apply it. That's me. That's my daily. How do I improve? Really is how do you encapsulate those 2 questions together. How do I improve? How can I be better? Again, it comes back to enhanced living. How can I be the best version of myself? Even if it's by 0.5% on a daily basis or 1%, how can I be better?
Love it. Thank you. And Adam, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so very much for joining us today. I'm grateful for you, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jay. It's been honestly my honor, and I've enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And for you, thank you for watching and listening. And I'd love to hear your takeaways and feedback on this episode. So please take a moment to subscribe and leave a comment, and to enjoy more episodes and to learn how Jay Shear Business Consulting can build a solid foundation for your service-based business. Visit jayshearbusinessconsulting.com. And until next time, keep learning and growing, and we'll see you on the next Business Minds Coffee Chat. Take care.